Hello and welcome to the Raw podcast brought to you by the Sunderland Echo. My name is Joe Nicholson and we're going to be previewing Sunderland's championship match against Ipswich at Portman Road. So joining me to tell us all about the Tractor Boys, we have Ross Halls from the East Anglian Daily Times. Ross, what's the mood like in Ipswich heading into this game?
You know, it's the January transfer window, so there's always that excitement. Obviously, we need a striker, but it's no win in the last 5 games. We won in the FA Cup, which is always good to progress. But I think it's still a lot of positives because where we are at the moment, our position wise. But looking forward to this game at Portman Road under lights because it's going to be dark because it gets dark early these days, of course, in the winter period. But yeah, looking forward to this one, mate.
When you mentioned there, Ipswich haven't won in their last 5 league games. They did win in the FA Cup against Wimbledon last weekend, but it's been a pretty remarkable season from the outside looking in, still up there in second in the table and competing for that automatic promotion spot. But have performances dropped off in recent weeks with no win in 5 league games? Just looking at some of the teams, you played Leeds, you played Leicester, had the derby against Norwich, but have performances dropped off or has it just been a case of some tough games in there?
I think it's a bit of both, really. I think there has been, some tough games. It all started from the Norwich game, the derby. We haven't played them for a long while, and they celebrated a draw like they've won the league. And then after that, the Leeds game was not great. Losing 4-0 at Ellen Road, and from there, really, we played really well against Leicester on Boxing Day, which was a 1-1 draw. Of course, Leicester are doing what they're doing. And then QPR was a disappointing end of 2023, really. A really disappointing game, a goalless draw against them. Then we played Stoke on New Year's Day. That was a frustrating goalless draw as well. They had a man sent off in like the 60th minute, and it's always hard to play against a team with 10 men who are just going to be behind the ball and they're not really going to attack. So that was a frustrating 0-0 draw. I'll say maybe some of the performances maybe have dropped off a little bit, but we have had injuries. Of course, every team have injuries, of course. But I think that's another big thing, though. Leif Davis has been out injured, one of our best players. George Hurst got a bad injury against Leicester. But from the Leeds game, it was more like, okay, we need to now go into the second half of the season. It's going to get tougher and tougher. Of course, teams wanting those points. But this is always going to happen. We're currently in this mini blip, as you would say. But yeah, it's big month. We've got you guys, then we've got Leicester as well to end the month. So it's big games coming up.
When we last spoke to you, it was before the first game of the season when Sunderland played Ipswich at the Stadium. Like Ipswich won that game 2-1, and we were kind of discussing what are Ipswich's expectations for the season. Sunderland the season before knew what it was about coming up from League One as a newly promoted side, and you were saying probably about 10th maybe. And I'm assuming that this season McKenna and Ipswich have exceeded all expectations. So just how impressive is the job that he's done there this season?
He really done a great job, in League One, first of all, from changing the whole, team in terms of how they play, breaking records with clean sheets and winning runs. And then, opening day of the season at Stadium of Light, to get that result against you guys, was the start of that unbelievable start to the season. Players was able to step up because that was always the big question: can our players step up to Championship? Of course, some of them actually dropped down to League One, but there's a few who have had opportunities, like Nathan Broadhead and George Hurst, who have played in the Championship before but didn't really make it. And this season they've been able to step up and play well. But yeah, a lot of pundits was predicting us to do well. I was very much sort of like, I'm going to calm down. I'll be happy, as you mentioned, I'll be happy with 10th. That's a good start, first season back in the Championship. But, mate, it's been unbelievable. Has a lot of town fans are just still like, just wiping their eyes like, we're second in the league. We're top at one stage. But, yeah, it's just been a roller coaster of emotions. Obviously, there's been a few moments where we've gone, okay, we know the Championship can be tough. We lost against West Brom at the Hawthorns 2-0. Back in October, and then obviously the Leeds game. We haven't beat Leeds in both outings against them at Portman Road and Ellen Road. But yeah, I think town fans are just enjoying it because you have to enjoy it when you're in this position.
You have, of course, now got Southampton now breathing down your neck, just 3 points behind Ipswich. Leeds 6 points, I think, behind Ipswich. Maybe even a point more, maybe even 7. but two sides that were very well fancied at the start of the season just come down from the Premier League. So what's the kind of expectation now with Ipswich? Are fans thinking we can get in the top two, or would they kind of think it's going to be the playoffs?
There's one stage where we were like, because we were 10 points away from Leeds and Southampton, and unfortunately this festive blip, as we say, is now, as you said, it's now 3 points to Southampton. So we are, looking behind us going, oh God, they are now chasing us now. Obviously, we got a fantastic win at Southampton back in September, which is a great 1-0 win, and that was sort of another start of like maybe we could stay in this top 6 and maybe top 2 is possible, because we all know Leicester they're gone now. We're just going we're going to enjoy that, enjoy the league title, but now it's Southampton. They got a good manager in Russell Martin. They've got some good players. I'm sure they'll strengthen in Jan. I think town fans want top 6 now because we're at the position we're in. If we can get that automatic spot, happy days. If we don't, it'd be disappointing. But that's our first season back in the Championship. You guys did it last season. First season back. So yeah, we'll see. There's a lot of games to play, and we just can't drop points now.
Mm-hmm. Looking at the league table and the goals scored, Ipswich second for goals scored with 48 goals this season in 26 games. Only Leicester have scored more, so clearly quite an attacking style that they go with. They'll be at home against Sunderland on Saturday. So how do you see them approaching that game?
Especially at Portman Road, there's a lot of goals scored at Portman Road. I've got a stat up here: 33 goals scored, 20 conceded. A lot of big score lines. A 3-2 win over Cardiff, a 4-3 win over Blackburn, a 3-0 win over Hull, 4-2 win over Preston. The Leeds game we lost, the only game we've lost at home in the league this year, was that 4-3 defeat at Leeds, which was just a mental game. We were 3-0 down, then we got back, and then of course they won in the end 4-3. But I just stand in McKenna football, attack. Obviously we've got a few injuries, we've got a few players out. Sam Morsey, I'm sure we'll get onto shortly. He's going to be missing, but I think we'll just play our normal football because that's what we want to do at Portman Road. McKenna likes to entertain the fans. It's going to be a packed out crowd. I'm sure you're going to bring your away fans. So it's going to be an exciting game of football, and get ready for some goals. Or, as standard, we always say that it's going to be a goalless draw, but no, I think there'll be goals.
Mm-hmm. When you mentioned Sam Morsey there, and you said that there'll be a few players injured, you mentioned George Hurst earlier. He's out with a hamstring injury. I was also reading Cameron Burgess, your centre-back. He's away at the Asian Cup. So who will be missing, and just how important will those players be? Yeah,
that's always the big thing with this now with AFCON and Asian Cup. Sam Morsey was a potential one for Egypt, but then he decided that he didn't want to go. Then he got that 10-man or 10 yellow card booking to miss 2 games at a Stoke game, and you think, oh no, you don't want him to miss Sunderland and Leicester. And of course, he's our captain. He's the man who sort of leads by example. He's one of our best players in that middle of the park. And when he has been missing, he missed the QPR game, which was a goalless draw, which was a frustrating game. And he also missed the Huddersfield game, and we drew that game as well. And you just see how important he is to our team. And to lose your captain, any team to lose their captain is big, isn't it? So he's definitely going to be a big loss. Cameron Burgess, who has been unbelievable. There was one stage where his career was sort of done at Town because he had a bad performance against Barrow in the FA Cup a few years back. And since McKenna's come in, he has just transformed him to become a regular Championship centre-half. Now plays for his country, now playing Asian Cup with Australia. So he's going to be another big miss. Then George Hurst, the man who scored at Stadium of Light to make it 2-0. I feel so sorry for him. For him to do that hamstring against Leicester, the team he signed from, and he's once again another big part of how we play. He holds up the ball well and he links up play. He's not that 20-goal, 30-goal season striker. He's that one who's going to link up 6 goals, 6 assists this year. So he's going to be a big loss. And Leif Davis, he's been out since the Leicester game with a calf strain. We'll find out with Kieran McKenna's press conference and if he could be back for this one. But I don't know. It's a calf strain is always interesting. But he's another big player. I'm sure a lot of your viewers will know Leif Davis with his assists, and he's another big important player of this team. So some big losses, but we've brought in some new signings. But yeah, that they're the big ones missing for this game.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned him earlier in the podcast. Nathan Broadhead is a player that Sunderland fans will know well, played a big part in Sunderland's promotion from League One. And Sunderland fans may think he's the one that kind of got away when they were trying to re-sign him the summer after they got promoted. So just how has he done at Ipswich? I think he's on 8 league goals this season for Town. So just tell us kind of how he's done at Portman Road.
Yeah, he's one of my favourite players to watch because you always like attacking players, don't you? And obviously he signed last January. He's been with the club now for a year, and that window was one of the big reasons why we got promoted, because we did bring Nathan Broadhead in, George Hurst, Massimo Luongo, Harry Clark as well. But yeah, Nathan has done fantastic. From he struggled at Wigan. He went on loan to Wigan, didn't he, in the Championship, and sort of struggled to get into the team. But he's come here. And in the Championship, he's scored goals. He's been a main reason for why we're doing well as well. Of course, the whole squad of that is a team. As a team, really, everyone plays well, and that's how we win games. But yeah, Nathan Broadhead scored the goals. He can be a frustrated figure at sometimes. Against Norwich, he had a few chances. There's a moment where he's going to score the best derby goal ever, where he just took on like 5 players and he missed probably. That was the easiest part of the move, is just to slot it home, but he missed, unfortunately. But he has stepped up to the Championship really well, and I'm sure he's going to be up for this one. Of course, he scored at the Stadium Light. He did a bit of a calm celebration. He didn't go mental, did he? I think he respected Sunderland.
And took a deflection, didn't it? Yeah.
It did as well.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think last time Sunderland played at Portman Road, he scored, didn't he? For Sunderland. Yeah. So I'm sure he'll be up for this one. But yeah, he's really stepped up, and he's a class player.
Mm-hmm. How do Ipswich kind of line up in terms of formation, just looking at their previous matches? Looks like a 4-2-3-1, but I remember you saying last time from when they were in League One, it's quite fluid and can change quite easily.
Yeah, do you know what? This is something we've been talking about on our podcast, and we've been looking, maybe we're kind of switching to his back three. So he had a really good back three in League One, and now because of our injuries, and with Cameron Burgess is out as well with the Asian Cup, I think we're thinking maybe the game against Wimbledon was more of a back three with Axel Tuanzebe coming in, because Axel Tuanzebe is more a centre half, but he has played at right back. So it's really much up in the air at the moment, because so we've got players out injured, players playing out of position, because really we haven't got many fullbacks right now, because Harry Clark's still very much touch and go for this game. Brandon Williams as well. Leif Davis, as we mentioned. We played Cameron Humphreys at left back recently, or left wing back, whatever you want to call it. Who's one of our academy players. So really going into this game, we're thinking, are we switching to a back three now? But as you said, it is very fluid. 4-2-3-1 has been our formation this season, but because of the injuries, we're having to just sort of change things up. So we'll find out.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned a few of the key players as well. As we've mentioned Broadhead, we've mentioned Morsy's going to miss the game. Hurst as well. I remember you mentioned last time Connor Chaplin is a player that has really impressed for Town. So who are sort of the other key players that Sunderland will have to watch out for and be aware of on Saturday?
Yeah, Connor Chaplin's always the one to look out for. Mm-hmm. He's really stepped up. He's currently in his purple patch. So he has purple patches of scoring, because he hasn't scored, I think, 6 games now since he last scored. He scored against Borough, which was a great win away from home against Middlesbrough. But he is one always to look out for. Then it's our goalie, Vaz Halanki. I can never say his name properly. I'm so sorry about that. But he played against you guys at Stadium Light, which was his first ever game in the Championship, and because Christian Walton got injured, and he has been unbelievable. I think a lot of people were a bit worried, actually. It was like, because he's never really played Championship football, but he's gone on to do so well. I think he's just so calm on the ball, because obviously you want a goalkeeper who can play from the back, and he's been able to do that. Fantastic. He's got a few assists this year as well from a goalie, which is great. So yeah, he's definitely one to look out for in terms of keeping the ball out of the net. But obviously we have conceded a lot of goals at home, but it's not always about his fault. But yeah, it's so many different players you can look out for. Massimo Luongo has been another big player in this team. From signing last January, from basically not playing for Middlesbrough, comes to us, has to get fully fit, and then part of that team who got promoted. And then this year he's been able to step up to the Championship. Obviously, he's not going to be with Sam Morsey, his partner. So there's that big question of Lewis Travis, who signed for Blackburn on loan. Will he start, or will he play Jack Taylor, who's signed from Peterborough and who's done well as well? Obviously, there's Wes Burns as well. I'm name checking everyone here, Jay. I'm just naming all the players. But Wes Burns, well. But yeah, Wes Burns is now a player to look out for. He's our ponytailed man, very quick on the wing. Scored, I don't know, you guys probably have seen his goal. He scored against Coventry, which is unbelievable. But he's another just a quick winger who has got a few goals and assists this year. But there's danger men in all areas, but we have got those big injuries, and that's why I'm a bit like, hopefully we can get a striker, because that's another thing. We don't know who's going to play up front. Broadhead potentially can play up front because so it'd be interesting.
Well, Ipswich, just looking, they have acted quite quickly in the January transfer window. You mentioned Lewis Travis coming in from Blackburn. They've also signed Jeremy Sarmiento from Brighton. Travis obviously hasn't played yet. Sarmiento, has he played off the bench so far, and how's he done?
Yeah, he made his debut against Wimbledon in the FA Cup. Very exciting cameo. Once again, it was a League Two opposition. And Wimbledon, they're not a bad side in League Two, actually. And we won that game 3-1. And yeah, it was an exciting cameo. Once again, you can watch all the highlight reels, and they show the good bits, don't they? He's definitely a flashy player. Of course, he was at West Brom prior to us. Of course, he got recalled by Brighton. And so he's played Championship football before. But yeah, he's going to be a player I think will excite the town fans, but he'll also frustrate because of, there'll be a few moments where he passes the ball, or he does too much and he loses it, and then a team goes and counter-attacks and potentially score. But we've got a player like Amari Hutchinson, who's also on loan from Chelsea, who's very similar. So two players who are very flashy, but also have a few moments where you're like, you've done too much there, just pass the ball. But I'm excited about Jeremy Sarmiento. I think he's going to be a player to add a bit more depth to that wide role. He's going to be playing on the left, maybe. I don't know if he'll start, but you never know.
Just always interesting as well to get an opposition's kind of perspective on Sunderland. I don't know how much you've seen about them this season. Obviously, you'll have seen them on the opening day of the season. They've changed head coach quite recently, but what do you kind of make of what you've seen of them and kind of the game coming up against Ipswich this weekend?
Yeah, obviously, town fans have got that connection with Tony Mowbray because he's a legend of the club. And I think when they saw him get sacked, they were like, Sunderland, what are you doing? Obviously, he brought in Michael Beale, and he's sixth from the table at the moment. Obviously, the Derby game defeat, I'm sorry to bring it up. I'm sorry. That wasn't
just got over that one yet.
Yeah. So maybe that's one town fans are like, we're rubbing our hands a little bit. This is the perfect time to play Sunderland after that defeat. Or, no, you guys are going to have fire in your belly to get bounced back from that defeat. But no, I've been sort of, when I watch Sunderland games, I've enjoyed watching. Jack Clark is one to look out for, with his goals he scored. Of course, Joe Bellingham with his brother and stuff. Obviously, he wants to get away from that shadow. I'm looking forward to seeing him in action because did he play at the Stadium of Light, Joe? I think he did, didn't he?
He missed a good chance in the first half, yeah. Yeah,
and obviously that was his debut, so he was very much sort of bedding in. But I look forward to seeing how he's done. And you've got a Ukrainian forward, haven't you?
Nazir Rusin, so he got his first goal against Preston on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
And then he played against Newcastle,
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he does against us as well. But yeah, I think you guys have been solid. Of course, there's been a few bad results here and there. But you've got some good wins as of late. That 2-0 home win against Preston on New Year's Day. Of course, Boxing Day win against Hull. Hull were looking like they're in business, don't they, in terms of their transfers. But I've always had a soft spot for Sunderland, I think, because of what you've been through and, of course, the documentary and everything like that. I enjoyed my trip up to Stadium Light early in the season, of course, obviously because of the win. But it was a nice hospitality and stuff like that. But I just can't wait for this one. We've always had good games, haven't we? I think there's always that memory. I think that was that season, unfortunately, you guys got relegated. I think we won 5-2, and that was an exciting game. But, yeah, can't wait for it. And, I always look forward to playing Sunderland.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one to look forward to under the lights on Sky Sports. So I'm sure a lot of fans are looking forward to the game. But Ross, we usually just finish by asking our guests for a quick score prediction. How do you think the game is going to go? How do you think the two sides will match up on Saturday?
As I said, there's going to be goals, but then sometimes that means it's going to be a goalless draw. But I can't see that happening. I think both teams score goals, don't they? Portman Road has been a fortress. As I said, we only lost one game this season. But we had that frustrating 0-0 draw against QPR. And of course, we want to bounce back after You know, 5 games without a win. I don't know about this one. I've had 2 predictions in my mind. I've gone for a Desmond draw, or maybe Town will nick it, maybe a 3-2 win. So as I'm on a Sunderland podcast, I want to go for a Desmond. I want to go for a 2-2. I think you guys probably take that point away from home. But yeah, it's going to be hopefully an exciting game and bring it on.
Yeah, Sunderland's still 6th in the table, but a lot of teams right behind them. It's very close. But I think a draw would be seen as a decent result for Sunderland against an Ipswich side that are flying high, even if they are in a difficult run of form in the league so far. So I'll go for a 1-1 draw. I think it'll be a tight game, but as you say, it sounds like there's going to be goals. But Ross, thanks a lot for joining me on the latest episode of the Raw podcast. And if you like what we do here at the Raw podcast, please consider subscribing on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts and leaving us a review. And for all the latest SAFC news, you can head over to the SAFC section of the Sunderland Echo website for all the build-up ahead of Saturday's match. It's also a 5:30 kickoff at Portman Road. We'll also have live updates and analysis from Portman Road as Sunderland take on Ipswich, as well as post-match reaction and analysis. So once again, thanks a lot for listening to the Raw podcast.